Welcome to this double CD set. I'm John Barter. Join me as we together develop our understanding, appreciation and practice of mindfulness-based meditation. For those of you that have practiced meditation before, I hope that these CDs serve as a reminder and motivator to maintain your mindfulness and your meditation practices. Through this first CD, which is primarily instructional, I'll let you know a little of my background. We'll then define meditation and mindfulness. We'll look at some of the amazing health and wellness benefits of practicing meditation, and certainly of being more mindful in our day-to-day life. Further to this, I'll explain some of the hindrances or difficulties into the development of our meditation, together with some practice pointers. We'll also look at what I call the 5 factors of mindfulness, as well as mindful relationship. Our second CD contains 2 guided mindfulness meditations using the sensation and experience of our breath as a reference point for strengthening and developing our mindfulness, whilst also developing a mindful relationship to the present moment. The first of these guided meditations is for 20 minutes duration, while the latter is for 40 minutes. Both of these meditations form a basis in mindfulness training for further meditations that will come to practice later. Both these CDs are ideally used in conjunction with having an experienced meditation teacher, or even participating in meditation courses or classes, where you can seek out clarification and explanation regarding your own personal experience of mindfulness meditation. Father back in the mid-1970s. However, I only really took it seriously when at the age of 17, seeking to make sense of myself and of the world, and to find a deeper meaning to life than what was immediately apparent, I took ordination as a Buddhist monastic of the Theravada forest tradition. After spending a year and a half at a forest monastery north of Sydney, Australia, I journeyed to northeast Thailand, taking my higher ordination in the forest monastery of a well-known and much-respected Thai meditation master named Ajahn Chah. For 6 years I resided in the monastery and branch monasteries of Ajahn Chah, a peaceful, uncomplicated way of life devoted to the practice of meditation and the development of mindfulness in the service of leading to spiritual insight and a life of wisdom. My years in Thailand were a wonderful experience of the teachings of Ajahn Chah, exemplified through the monastic community, an uncomplicated, peaceful life within the forested and jungle monastic abodes, far removed from the pressures and complexities of our contemporary life, though not without its own challenges of the physical environment, of illness, and of the internal rigors of the reactive mind. Yet, I must say, on all accounts, mindfulness prevailed as the elixir, or the healing balm, or might we say, the necessary psychotherapy. After my years in Thailand, I was invited to help out in England within the newly established branch monasteries, given the much increasing interest in Britain and indeed in Europe in Buddhism and meditation. Monastic life here took on a new flavour, yet the practice of mindfulness as a way of life and as a way of being remained much the same. After 2 years in England, I was invited to help out with the establishment of and teaching at a new branch monastery in a high mountain valley in Switzerland. During my year and a half there, I increasingly saw and felt that the practice of meditation and the development of mindfulness, and also the realization of the wisdom insights of the Buddha, need not for myself be confined to monastic life. That such spiritual practice and realization transcends both time and place, and were as applicable in contemporary 20th century life as they were of monastic life, modelled on a 2,500-year-old form. So after 11 years of monastic life, feeling fulfilled in my reasons for initially taking up such a way of life, And also in receiving the blessings of the senior Western monastics, I disrobed and returned home to Australia. From my monastic life, my studies and practices in the development of the mind brought me to the study, registration, and practice of psychology. Practicing now as a psychologist, I bring the Buddha's wisdom insights and the practice of mindfulness meditations together with the understandings of contemporary psychology and psychotherapy to deal with the varieties of issues and illnesses of our contemporary life, here now in the 21st century. Both in my own life and in the life of others, especially through my private psychology practice, and also in the many contexts that I teach meditation, I've seen the wonderful workings of mindfulness meditation in dealing with the choices and also the challenges of our day-to-day life. So what is meditation? Let me begin by saying that much of the quality of our life has to do with both how we perceive our world of experience and how we respond to it. How attentive, receptive, open to, understanding of our experience is determined by the quality of our conscious awareness. Whilst we all have a fundamental degree of conscious awareness, or what I'll refer to as mindfulness, this is just the basis or just the beginning, basically for getting by in our regular day-to-day life. For thousands of years, in cultures both of the East and of the West, it's been known, though only by a few, that it was possible to enhance our conscious awareness and hence the quality of our experience of life. For the most part, this appreciation and practice has remained the sole domain of the religious or spiritual aspirant, deepening and refining the mind so as to perceive and experience the deeper and transcendent truths of our human experience and of life itself. More recently, much through the advancements in technology and research in medical science, our contemporary culture has come to appreciate the practice and see the benefits of this exercising and development of conscious awareness. The practice we've come to know as meditation. In the context of my own background and of our training in mindfulness, I'd like to define our meditation as the conscious practice and development of mindfulness. Or more specifically, meditation is the practice and process of consciously developing a quality of sustained awareness, used either in a focused, concentrated way developing calm and clarity, or in a receptive, reflective way developing insight and understanding. So we can ask then, what is mindfulness? Well, whilst no other psycho-spiritual tradition has given as much importance to the development and use of mindfulness as has Buddhism, and within Buddhism using the ancient Pali language term for mindfulness, which is sati, S-A-T-I, mindfulness itself transcends spiritual traditions of time, place, and culture, just as does the qualities of honesty and integrity, courage and respect. Mindfulness, as the term denotes, is a fullness of mind, a fullness of awareness, as opposed to a mind that we could say is distracted, fragmented, or distorted. I even like to describe mindfulness as a conscious clarity, a presence of mind, or even a coming to one's senses. In both ways we might use that term. For example, he or she's finally coming to their senses about something, meaning coming to an awareness or understanding. Yet we also have a coming to one's senses literally, in the terms of bringing our awareness to the senses that make up our world of experience. These are the 5 physical senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or feeling, and our sixth sense as in the mind of mental formations or cognitions. So coming to our senses in this way means we are bringing more of a conscious awareness to the full range of our sensory experience, not just caught up in the predominating sense of thought, memories, ideas. The chatter of the mind, punctuated with personal commercials about ourselves, getting in touch with the true experience, not just the commentary. In this way, mindfulness is the key factor in helping us to be more aware of our world of sensory experience, while also at the same time making sense of it. Mindfulness allows life in, and we could even say allows ourselves into life. Because if we're not mindful, not aware, not present for what's going on, we miss out. So mindfulness is both life-giving and life-enriching. I find that when I'm particularly mindful, I actually feel mindful. It's as if while mindfulness has to do with a mental clarity, there's an associated wonderful feeling that goes along with it, the feeling of mindfulness, which to me is one of feeling more present, grounded, centered in my experience, more connected to my experience. And while things around me may even seem busy, I can feel calm, at ease, in flow. Such a feeling, I'm told, is experienced, maybe even sought after, by people that engage in extreme sports, such a sport as cliff-hanging, abseiling, paragliding, etc. So beyond the initial adrenaline rush, enforced mindfulness brings the athlete into total harmony with themselves, their environment, and their present moment experience. That feeling of being in flow, or in the zone, very present, very alert, very alive, yet calm. So the great thing about mindfulness is that to feel this calm, alert aliveness, we don't actually have to engage in extreme sports, forcing us to be mindful. We can develop our mindfulness through meditation, enabling us to have the mindful feeling by tuning into it whenever we like. For example, just take a moment now to notice what it is that we're actually experiencing in the here and the now. Notice what our predominant experience is, for example. Maybe it's that of sight, or of sound, or sensation. Notice the position and placement of our body. Feel into some of the contact sensations of your body. Notice the subtle movement of your body, especially as we breathe, feeling the movement. If you have your eyes open, then notice the color, shade, shape and form of whatever it is that we are seeing. Notice the movement of our eyes as they scan, maybe across the room. Maybe we're noticing some sounds, certainly the sound of my voice, but maybe other sounds, some near, some from afar, receiving the sounds just as they are. There's no need to think about this or even describe what we're seeing, hearing or feeling, just being aware, mindful, very present for exactly what is. Just noticing, noting, knowing. Notice how this feels to simply be aware, – consciously present, mindful. I've found that mindfulness well allows a combining of a psycho-spiritual perspective with that of a psychotherapeutic perspective. Certainly with reference to the teachings of the Buddha, mindfulness is the core quality that practitioners both look to develop and engage in the service of seeing things more clearly and directly. This enables insightful understanding, the development of wisdom, and a freeing of the mind from fear and confusion, distress and suffering. Ultimate clarity, and thus freedom, is full enlightenment, nirvana, seen to be the full actualization and realization of our human potential. All Buddhist meditations evolve out of the development of mindfulness and revolve around the use of mindfulness, bringing a conscious clarity to bear onto the multivarious subjects of meditation. In the tradition that I've been trained in, mindfulness is first developed through meditation that enables a concentration of attention, bringing about a collecting and calming of our mind and heart. In the ancient Indian language of early Buddhism, this practice is called samadhi. Having developed a degree of mindfulness manifesting as calm clarity, it's then used to look at or look into the nature of our experience. Here our experience is summarized into 4 areas of investigation or mindful meditative reflection. These are called the 4 foundations of mindfulness. These being mindfulness of our body, mindfulness of our feelings, mindfulness of our states of mind, and mindfulness of the content of our mind. Such meditations on these 4 foundations of mindfulness enable deep understanding, which, again in the language of early Buddhism, is termed vipassana, meaning insight. What continues to excite and encourage me in the development and appreciation of mindfulness, notwithstanding its application for spiritual development, is, however, its broad and far-reaching therapeutic effects. Certainly I'm not saying that mindfulness is the be-all and end-all in itself, but it is being found to be a very powerful adjunct, complementing a wide variety of physical, psychological, and pharmacological therapies. From a psychotherapeutic perspective, I see mindfulness as one of the key or core factors in enabling wholesome change of unhealthy or unhelpful patterns and habits of thought, emotion, and behavior. Our mindfulness helps us to be more attentive to the movements and mechanics of our mind and emotions that we would otherwise so easily overlook in the busyness of our contemporary life, yet all the while wondering why we're not happy or why we are so reactive. Mindfulness helps us to discern our mind's distortions from the reality of how things really are. By being more mindful and observant of our mental and emotional patterns and habits, we become less limited by them and less identified as them. This allows us to respond to things either internally or externally with more flow and flexibility from a more balanced and realistic perspective. Basically, when we use mindfulness, or we could even say when we are mindful, we create a space between a stimulus, be it something internal or external, and our subsequent response to it. Where there is a space or pause, we then have the chance to see things more clearly and to choose our response, rather than just habitually reacting and maybe getting ourselves into trouble in the process. The more mindfulness we have, the greater the space or pause, where we can ask ourselves, what's going on here? Do I really want to get caught up or caught out? If not, we can then choose to respond or deal with the stimulus differently. So on a practical level, by using mindfulness, we can create a space between stimulus and response. Where there is space, there can be clarity and conscious choice. And where there is choice, there can be change and freedom. Sometimes things won't or don't change, at least as fast as we'd like them to. In these situations, we can then bring mindfulness to the experience. So rather than getting caught in reacting, resisting, denying, or distracting from whatever it is, which tends to just wear us out, we can just notice what is, exactly as it is, just being aware of it, relating to it, rather than from it. For example, with pain, be it physical or emotional, we can bring mindfulness to the sensation rather than getting caught in the mind's reaction to it. Being aware of the pain rather than buying into it and being in pain. So whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, an illness or issue, or something more external, we can just be mindful of it, noticing, noting, and knowing. This then puts us in a much better position to understand it and then to know what can be done about it, if anything. Sometimes even, just the fact that we don't get so caught up in fear or frustration, for example, allows relief and even change. In my work as a psychologist, I've come to call my therapeutic approach mindfulness therapy. Mindfulness therapy makes use of various contemporary counseling and psychotherapeutic tools, together with training in mindfulness through meditation, while also engaging the application of mindfulness in the individual's day-to-day life. Within therapeutic use, mindfulness has wide application. For example, in helping and healing through the experience of depression, anxiety, fears and phobias, in dealing with behaviors of addiction and compulsion, for working with issues of communication and relationship, existential issues and general life stress. Also for enabling both personal and professional life management and enhancement. In fact, clinical studies researching the benefits of meditation have shown resultant psychological benefits include enhanced coping capabilities, greater concentration and memory abilities, improved professional efficiency and output through reduction in stress, enhanced response time and reflexes, decreased anxiety, a decrease in the incidence of depression with enhanced optimism through elevation of serotonin, improved sleep, a reduction in reliance on both prescribed and non-prescribed drugs, as well as enhanced self-awareness and self-actualization. With advancements in medical science and the emergence of a new medical paradigm of mind-body medicine, and especially the subfield of psychoneuroimmunology, mindfulness training through meditation is finding great application and appreciation. Basically, the thoughts that we have and how we relate to them affect our state of mind, feelings, and emotions. Such mental and emotional movements become translated into certain biochemicals that consequently affect the physiology and functioning of our body. Our body's wellness, susceptibility to illness, and potential for healing is all affected by these biochemicals. Whilst the fact that our physical health can be affected by our state of mind has been known as general knowledge for thousands of years, it's only recently that mainstream contemporary medical science has been able to validate this knowledge through empirical research. Because of this, there is growing interest in our ancient yet timeless practice of meditation. Certainly in the work that I do, further to the psychotherapeutic applications of mindfulness meditations, the use of meditation for aiding physical health include in working with the experience of cancer, illnesses related to immune function and deficiency, chronic pain, and the many illnesses that are related to or exacerbated by stress. In fact, further clinical studies show that some of the physiological health and healing benefits of meditation include a reduction in stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, a reduction in blood pressure and heart rate, an increase in blood flow to certain parts of the brain, changes in brainwave patterns such as an increase in alpha and theta waves associated with calm and relaxation, an increase in melatonin, which enhances immune function and aids in sleep, greater immune function through a reduction of the immunosuppressive effects caused by stress, and an increase in the human growth hormone, DHEA, which slows down the process of aging. I think we can all appreciate that such physiological as well as psychological benefits of meditation could certainly be helpful for ourselves. To sum up at this point, our meditation is the practice of mindfulness, and mindfulness is a quality of conscious awareness that even enables a feeling of mindfulness. We might practice meditation primarily for spiritual development, for health and healing benefits, or for personal or professional performance enhancement. With regards to the therapeutic potentials of mindfulness and meditation, benefits occur both by being mindful and using mindfulness in our daily life. Further physiological and biochemical benefits occur through sustained mindfulness during periods of meditation. On the meditation courses that I teach, especially the course Meditation for Health and Healing, I point out that we don't need to have a particular health or healing issue to make benefit of this course of meditation. That it's actually better to develop a meditation practice and to use mindfulness before we actually become unwell. In this way, we're being proactive rather than reactive. Our meditation and mindfulness helping to maintain wellness rather than just being used to enable healing and cure once we are unwell. I point out further that developing a regular practice of meditation is like paying into our health insurance, not monetarily but momentarily, through moments of mindfulness. In a way, our meditation practice is more of a real health insurance, helping to protect us against stress and illness. We may well wonder how the silent and still, introspective practice of meditation can have such a powerful therapeutic effect. Simplistically, just taking time out of our busy day-to-day life to slow down, sit down, and just be, in itself is calming, soothing, and therapeutic. There is a simple but lovely analogy of how meditation works that I'd love to share with you. Having my background as a Buddhist monastic, I have a number of friends that are Buddhist monks and nuns. One in particular is now the abbot of a large forest monastery in Perth, Western Australia. On occasions he comes to Sydney on invitation to give public talks or lead meditation retreats. At times he kindly comes to either of the 2 meditation classes I have to lead the meditation. On one particular occasion he said to the meditation class, "So what's John been telling you about meditation?" People were a bit shy to say anything, especially since I was sitting right there. So he said, "Well, I'll show you what meditation is and how it works. This is an example that our meditation teacher in Thailand, Ajahn Chah, would use." My friend, who is originally from England, had a mug of tea just beside him, which he then picked up, and holding it outstretched, he then asked the group, "So, how heavy is this mug of tea?" They looked bewildered, but someone spoke up and said, "Not very heavy." The monk said, "That's right. Half a mug of tea is not very heavy." He then asked, "How heavy would this be if I had to hold it out like this for an hour?" Someone then replied, "Well, it would be getting pretty heavy after an hour. The monk said, "Yes, that's right." He then asked, "And how heavy would this mug of tea be if I had to hold it out like this all day?" People in the group then said, "My goodness, that'd be so excruciating, so painful." The monk said, "Yes, and apart from being a very stupid monk, I'd have to be taken to hospital to have my arm unfrozen." He then said, "Now it's getting quite heavy, what should I do?" The people in the group looked at him and said, "Put the mug down. Put it down." My friend said, "Yes, that's right. I should just put the mug down." He said, and this is also how meditation works. Meditation is putting the mug down. He went on to say that the mug represents our issues, our fears, our worries, our stress, our roles and responsibilities. Carrying these things around day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, they just get heavier and heavier, and we end up wearing out, burning out, getting sick. So just giving ourselves a break from these issues just for a while brings some relief, so that like having some tea, we can put the mug down in between sips so it doesn't become a painful experience. When we pick the mug up again, or let's say we pick up our roles and responsibilities after the meditation, we do so with more ease, energy and clarity. The participants of the class were impressed by this simple yet powerful illustration, as was I. So, we don't have to throw things away just because they feel heavy, as the story expresses. We can just put them down for a while. A meditation then is taking time out of each day just to have a break, take a load off, to put the mug down. Time out for being. Just being aware in the present moment. Just being and knowing rather than doing and thinking. One way of looking at things is that we are but systems of energy manifesting physically, mentally, and emotionally. Yet so much of the energy that is our being, our life, is wasted through the stress of our day-to-day lives. This has a lot to do with our mind's reaction to the particular experience or experiences we are having, be they either from an internal or external source. We all know too well the reacting, resisting, distracting, or denying that we so easily find ourselves caught up in, wasting energy, wearing us out, and maybe even wearing others out in the process. On an energetic level, our mindfulness meditation enables a collecting, conserving, and even a preserving of our energy during the meditation sessions. Through our use of mindfulness in daily life, we can become more aware and careful in the use and expenditure of our energy, using it more constructively and creatively, in a more helpful, healthful, and healingful way. Mindfulness developed through meditation also enables us to have a more realistic and worthwhile relationship to our experience. Within the mind-body complex, mindfulness enables a relationship where there is more harmony, balance, and wholeness between our conscious awareness and whatever it is that we are experiencing through our sense doors. One of the ways I like to explain meditation practice is to see it much in the same way that we do physical exercise for our body. In the same way that we can exercise the muscles of our body, making them stronger, more flexible, and more functional than the norm, so too we can actually exercise and strengthen neural connections in certain parts of our brain. This especially enhances and enables our quality of attention, leading to a greater degree of concentration and calm, inner peace and tranquility, and a greater general mental functioning and efficiency. Recent studies in medical science using brain imaging technology have shown that the practice of meditation strengthens neural connections in the left prefrontal lobe of the brain. This part of our brain helps to mitigate surges of emotions such as fear and anger, the result of the flight or fight stress response generated from the part of our brain called the amygdala, the more primal part of our brain. So in this way, the more we engage the practice of meditation, exercising and strengthening the hardware that is our brain, we are enhancing and enabling the potential of the software, which is our mind, our mindfulness, our conscious clarity and awareness. With less fear and frustration, anxiety and anger, we have more energy and emotional availability for happiness and joy, love and connection, peace and tranquility, insight and understanding. I'd like to point out that our practice of meditation may not be as simple as it sounds. In fact, meditation may at times be downright difficult. However, let me say, don't be disheartened, because there is no such thing as a bad meditation, only one we don't do. Just the fact that we have taken time out to slow down, sit down, and be mindfully aware is in itself wonderful. Of course, our mind may still be full of thoughts, worries, and wonderings, but that's okay. Here the point being, just the fact that we have taken time out is good in itself. We also need to appreciate that we need to begin our meditation, like other things, exactly where we are, rather than where we might like to be. So, we begin with the normal state of our mind, which may be agitated and restless, dull or drowsy, or even bored, and we bring mindfulness to that, getting to know it, being aware of it. It can be interesting to notice what happens to such states of mind when we don't react, resist, judge, or reject them, but simply be aware of them. I will let you find out for yourself what happens. It'll be your insight. Whilst we all would love to have a mind that is calm and tranquil, and a heart that is open and joyous, at least during our meditation, this is not our goal. Having defined our meditation as the conscious development and practice of mindfulness, we need to keep this in mind. Certainly the calm collectedness of samadhi and the understandings and insights of vipassana are appreciated, but they are the result or flow on from simply being mindful. Here the point being, the idea is to encourage mindfulness, noticing, noting, and knowing what is happening, rather than struggling and stressing to get calm, peaceful, aware, or wise. It just doesn't work like that. The more we stress and struggle with the mind, the further we move from the possibility of calm, clarity, and understanding. The idea is that we set up the necessary conditions for calm and clarity and allow the calm and clarity to occur naturally. No stress, no struggle, just naturally. This point reminds me of the story of the north wind and the sun. These two powers were having a discussion as to whose influence was the greatest. The north wind declared that his influence or power was the greatest, that he could blow trees down or blow the roofs of houses. He said to the sun, "See that man walking down there in the countryside? I will blow down and blow that man's jacket right off him." So the north wind blew and blew and blew, and yet the more he blew, the more the man wrapped the jacket around himself, holding it tight, with his head down facing into the wind. The north wind blew and blew, but just couldn't blow the man's jacket off. The sun said, okay, now I will show you how I work." And so the sun just shone, shining down, warming and warming the man, until feeling so warm, the man removed his own jacket, folded it over his arm, and walked on. So in the same way, we set up the right conditions for our meditation, or for our healing, or for whatever, then allow the changes to occur of themselves. From this point, we also need to appreciate that changes do take time. Regarding our meditation practice and our mind, we have a lifetime of conditioning, of using our mind in quite particular ways, primarily for thinking. what I call the mode of doing and thinking, rather than the being and knowing mode. So overall changes, while they do vary from person to person, do take time of weeks, even months. Yet, as we've learned, the changes and benefits through our meditation are extremely worthwhile. Of course, we will see and experience some benefits from our meditation from session to session, sometimes more, sometimes less. However, more often than not, we may need to just be patient. Like in the way that most people work professionally, we don't get paid until the work is done, which may not be at the end of the day, maybe not even at the end of each week. Some people not even until the end of the fortnight. In the same way with our meditation, we do the practice, and then after a little while, the results of having put in the time come to fruition. I know for myself that from this simple yet profound practice of mindfulness meditation, so many benefits have occurred. Such benefits especially occurring in the form of inner psycho-emotional or psycho-spiritual qualities. Again, not that we set out to consciously develop such qualities, but they develop and occur as a natural maturing of ourself through the meditation practice, and especially dealing with the difficulties that arise in the meditation. These qualities could include patience, being patient with the way the mind is, with discomfort in the body; kindness, again towards the reactive, unsettled mind or body; energy, motivation, and commitment to stay with the meditation, to keep it going; letting go, not getting caught up or caught into the thinking and reacting in the mind; wisdom, seeing and understanding the nature of our psychophysical disposition or our human condition. In fact, a lot of such learnings and understandings come not so much from when our meditation is working well, but from when we are dealing with difficulties. This is where it can be helpful to have the right attitude or view towards our meditation. One such view can be to see the difficulties or problems we face in the meditation, as well as in life, as a challenge, an opportunity, or even as a gift. Just a little lesson, enabling a learning, a maturing. The two major difficulties that I find most people have in their meditation relate to stopping. Here the first stopping is actually stopping to do the meditation. We already live such busy lives that to try and fit another thing into it, as in the meditation, creates its own stress and even may seem impossible. We might be saying, yes, I would love to practice meditation and be more mindful, but I have no time. This reminds me of the story about the university professor that comes into his class one day and says to his students, "Today I'm going to give you an important lesson, but not in the usual way I teach, so pay attention and watch closely." The professor then placed onto the bench in front of the room a large glass jar. He then brought up onto the bench a bag full of rocks and proceeded to take the rocks out of the bag, filling them into the glass jar. When the jar was full to the top, he then asked the students, "Is the jar full?" "Yes, sir, we can see that. The jar is full." The professor then said to them, "Just keep watching." He then brought up onto the bench another bag containing stones and proceeded to put the stones into the jar, fitting them in and around the large rocks until he could fit no more. The professor then asked the students, "Is the jar full?" They were a bright group and had caught on by this stage, and thus answered, "No, sir, the jar is not full." "Good, good," said the professor. "Keep watching." He then brought up onto the bench a bag full of sand, which he then poured into the jar, so that the sand filtered down around the large rocks and stones until it was filled to the top, The professor then asked the students, "Is the jar full?" "No," they replied. "Good," said the professor. "Keep watching." He then brought up onto the bench a bottle filled with water, which he then poured into the jar, so that it filtered down around the large rocks, the stones, and the sand until it was filled right to the top of the glass jar. The professor then asked the students, "Is the jar full?" "Yes, sir," they replied. "We can see that the jar is completely full." The professor then looked at the students and then asked them, "So, what is the lesson and learning here? What am I trying to show?" Now, because this was a business studies class, one of the students spoke up, saying, "Well, sir, I think what you are saying by this is that no matter how busy our day is, we can always fit more in." The professor replied, "Good answer, but that's not quite right. The lesson here is about prioritizing, and the learning is about getting the big or important things into your life, week, or day first, or at least reserving space for them. Such things are the big rocks. We need to get them in first. If we don't, then there will be no room left. Having got them in, we can then fill the space with smaller, lesser important things." So from this example, the large rocks in our day jar might be time to eat, time to work, time with our family, time for some exercise, and of course, time for our meditation. One important consideration that we can use in order to prioritize meditation practice is to appreciate that life is the most precious thing we have. What makes life worthwhile is not just that we have it, but that it has quality of life. Here, the quality of our life experience has much to do with the quality of our conscious awareness. It is our mindfulness meditation that enhances the quality of our conscious awareness. Appreciating this, we can more easily make meditation a priority and practice in our life. A point here on regularity of practice. For meditation, like anything, it develops through regular practice. I suggest making a conscious commitment to oneself to practice our meditation for a set time without expecting any particular results during that time. For example, if you are new to meditation, determine to do it for 6 weeks, and then see how you feel at the end of that time. As a psychologist, I don't prescribe medication, but I do prescribe meditation, and the prescription dose is at least 4 days a week for at least 20 minutes, at a regular time and place that suits you. See it as your mental multivitamin. So just keep taking your meditation. The second major difficulty relating to stopping is, apart from stopping to do the meditation, there is a stopping ourselves from getting caught in the content of our mind. Stopping from getting caught into the thoughts, ideas, worries and wonderings. This is where, at the beginning of our meditation, we make a conscious commitment to ourself to put the mug down. As an act of kindness and consideration to ourself, we are giving ourselves permission to not have to answer, engage, or get caught up in the thinking mode of mind. Sure, when thoughts arise in the mind, with mindfulness we simply notice them, but don't engage. If we find that we have got caught up, as soon as we realize this, we let go. Or we could say, we put the mug down again, bringing our attention back to our reference point, such as the sensation of our natural breath. A lot of our meditation and training in mindfulness in the beginning is noticing that our mind has become distracted, letting go, coming back to our breath. This is where we develop a lot of patience. However, if the mind is particularly distracted, apart from our mindfulness directed toward the sensation of our breath, we can actually give the mind 1 or 2 simple words to use in conjunction with our breath. This is called a mental mantra. For example, as we breathe in, we can say in our mind the word breathe. And as we breathe out, we can say in our mind the word thing. Breathing. Breathing. Another mental mantra could be calm ease. Calm ease. Or even mindful. Mindful. You can make up your own as long as they pertain to the meditation and don't cause you to start thinking off on a tangent. Another simple technique, similar to the mental mantra, used for the same purposes, is the mental counting technique. Here, in conjunction with the in and out breath, we can count our breaths up to 5. For example, on the in-breath, we mentally count 1. On the out-breath, we mentally count 1. Then, the next in-breath, we count 2. The next out-breath, 2. And so on up to 5, then starting back at 1. If, however, we become distracted from the count, no matter what number we got up to, we go back and start with 1 again. This technique can be an interesting measure of our mindfulness, where we can see how we progress over time. Whilst the mental mantra and mental counting can be helpful at times, they are just a crutch and are extra to the natural stillness and silence of the mind, so it can be good to get beyond relying on them. Using a mental mantra or mental counting can be helpful for counteracting what are called in Buddhist psychology the 5 mental hindrances. The following 5 mental modes also have an emotional and physiological counterpart and hinder the development of our mindfulness and calm collectedness within our meditation. The first hindrance is that of sensual desire. When our mind is caught up in sensual desire, it doesn't easily become calm and collected. Similarly with the second hindrance of aversion or anger. The third hindrance is that of dullness and drowsiness of mind. The fourth is restlessness and agitation. And the fifth hindrance is that of skeptical doubt. My teacher, the Buddhist meditation master Venerable Ajahn Chah, would use the lovely simile of how the true nature of the mind is disturbed by these 5 hindrances. He would liken the true nature of our mind to that of a cool, calm, and still forest pool. The water of such a pool is usable for quenching thirst or for enabling a clear reflection. However, the forest pool, like our mind, can become rendered unusable. The simile suggests that sensual desire is like the pool having colored clay mixed through it. Aversion and anger in the mind is like the water of the pool boiling and bubbling. Dullness and drowsiness is like the pool being covered by moss and slime. Restlessness and agitation is like the pool being whipped up by the wind, while skeptical doubt is like the pool becoming churned up and muddy. So part of our mindfulness training is to check that our mind has not become caught up in one or more of the 5 hindrances, disturbing that still forest pool. Whilst the practice of meditation and the mode of being mindful was very much a way of life when I was a Buddhist monastic, there was little necessity for explanation from my teachers as to what mindfulness was. Much of this, I feel, was due to the fact that one was surrounded with examples of the expression of mindfulness in action. If someone was unsure of what mindfulness was, then the teacher would say, "Well, just look at the way that monk is walking. You can see he's doing so mindfully." Or, "See the way those 2 monks are folding that robe up. That's mindfulness." In our day-to-day life, we aren't surrounded by such examples of mindfulness. We're more likely to have examples of mindlessness. Because of this, in helping people to develop an appreciation of what is happening when we are mindful, I've put together what I see as the 5 factors of mindfulness. These 5 factors being a presence-centered awareness, the giving and holding of attention, being objective, being receptive, and not taking personally what is noticed or known. To give further explanation of these, the first factor of being present-centered. This means that when we are mindful, then we are aware or attuned to what is going on in the present moment. In fact, since the past does not exist anymore, and the future only exists as an idea, the only place to live our life from is the present moment. Life is but a collection of present moments, and thus this present moment is the point of existence. You might now be thinking, sure, but sometimes I need to remember the past or think about the future. This is right, but such memories and ideas about the past or future exist in the mind in the present. If we do need to think of the past or the future, then we can do so consciously, mindfully, in the present. The second factor of the 5 factors of mindfulness is giving and holding of attention. If we are being mindful, then we are both giving and holding attention to whatever it is that we are aware of. This may be in a collected, focused way that may lead to concentration, or in a more open, receptive way, having a larger field of awareness. The stronger our mindfulness becomes, the more we are able to give and hold attention without being distracted. Usually we find it easy to give our attention to things that are either exciting or challenging, but this does not mean we actually have strong attention. It's more like our attention has been captured by whatever it is. We strengthen our ability to give and hold attention by holding on to something which isn't exciting or challenging. In our practice of meditation, such an object of attention is the natural sensation of our breath. The third of the 5 factors of mindfulness is objectivity. So in being mindful, we're able to be objective to whatever we are being aware of. This means that we don't get caught in judgment or reaction. We're able to step back, so to speak, and get some perspective on things, see them more clearly and realistically for what they are. This includes not just things external to ourselves, but also what lies within us, as thoughts and memories, feelings and emotions. Too often we see things through the veil of our own preconceptions and misperceptions. As it is said, we see things not as they are, but as we are. Mindfulness through objectivity helps us to see things more clearly and align ourselves with the truth. This is a much better vantage point from which to enable understanding and to engage action. The fourth of the 5 factors of mindfulness is receptivity. Mindfulness helps us to be more receptive to experience through the full range of our doors of perception, the 5 senses, and the mind. Because we are able to be objective to that which we might otherwise shut off from, again, be it external or internal, we can then be more receptive. This helps us to have more of a full range of our world of experience without having to react to or resist what is going on for us. To me, this element of mindfulness is like a satellite dish, open and receptive, just receiving the information. The 5th factor of mindfulness is the result of the others, which is a non-personal awareness. When we are mindful, we are more able to not get caught buying into things, either taking or making them personal. For example, if somebody says something unpleasant about us, then we are aware of what they are saying. Factor 1, presence-centered awareness. We are able to listen to their comment. Factor 2, giving and holding of attention. We can be objective to what we are hearing. Factor 3, objectivity. Just receiving the sound and sight information. Factor 4, receptiveness. Yet not getting caught into the comments, not taking them personally. Factor 5, non-personal awareness. No stress, no fear, no anger. This important element or factor of mindfulness, a non-personal awareness, is incredibly freeing, since much of our stress and distress, unease and angst is because we take things personally, when maybe we don't need to. By applying our mindfulness in this way, it allows us the option where we can choose for ourselves whether to take something personally or not. This factor of mindfulness also allows us to be more aware of and see the tendency of the mind to turn things into ourself, turning objects into the subject. Here we tend to identify something, we then identify with it, creating ourselves or our identity out of it. For example, we have a silly thought. We notice it, then we buy into it. That's my silly thought. Taking it personally, creating ourselves out of it, thinking I'm silly. Mindfulness allows us to just stay more with the subjective experience, rather than get caught in the object, staying with the knowing, choosing to just be aware. Our practice of mindfulness meditation helps to train the mind in this skill, since in the meditation lots of thoughts may arise in the mind. We can notice them, but not get caught into them. Similarly, we may become aware of sensations in the body, even discomfort. Just being mindful, being aware, using the factors of mindfulness, we can be aware of the discomfort or pain without getting caught into becoming in pain. We can notice how we can relate to the pain rather than from the pain. In this way, we engage our mindfulness, whether within our meditation practice or in our day-to-day life, relating mindfully to whatever it is we are experiencing. This enables what I call mindful relationship, a relationship that uses mindfulness, being in the present moment, giving and holding of attention, being able to be objective, receptive, while not taking the object of awareness personally. Our mindfulness meditation helps us to develop and strengthen mindful relationship. Here we can have such a relationship towards the experience of the present moment and whatever it contains, whether this be just the coming and going sensation of our breath, the thoughts that may arise in the mind, sounds, or sensations in our body. This training and practice becomes the model or template of how we can then relate through mindful relationship to things that may be of issue or challenge in our day-to-day life, either personally or professionally. Simply by being mindful, we exercise mindfulness, thus relating mindfully, enabling a calm clarity so that we can then respond in word or deed from awareness and understanding. Of course, all of this is much easier said than done, for sure. But then this is what these CDs are about, helping us to appreciate the possibility, then giving ourselves the opportunity to practice, especially in using the second CD with the guided meditations. Here we can transform our life from just being workable into that which can also be wonderful.